So last week, we looked at Tableau extensions and data visualization using D3.js. So this week, we're going to take a look at Tableau extensions and how to load data from a form into Salesforce. So we're going to look at the Writeback functionality in this week. OK, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have covered so far in the 5 webinars. So week 1, we looked at the Tableau ecosystem, and we looked at the built-in Tableau connector. And in week 2, we looked at the web data connector. It's a lightweight connector that can be used for real-time IoT communication in Tableau. And then we looked at the Hyper engine that's used for processing large volumes of data, bringing in millions of rows of data, compressing it, and making it easy for big data visualization. So we looked at that on week 3 using the Python API. And then in week 4, we looked at Tableau visualization and form writeback. And that we split that into the Tableau extensions for visualization. And in week 5, we brought in the extensions for writeback. And then we will cover on the Tableau CRM and analytics. We'll cover some of the basics of what's happening in the Tableau Salesforce integration of Tableau CRM and Einstein Analytics. What we have done is we laid Tableau on top of this framework, and essentially Tableau is the one that's going to do the communication, the storage, and the computation. And we're doing all this using the Tableau Hyper engine. The Hyper engine is a database, and it's a very powerful in-memory database. So we're using the Hyper database to kind of streamline and remove some of the complexity. And also what we're doing is we're using the power of the REST API, which is the HTTPS REST API, which is a JSON object that communicates using Node.js and JavaScript. So we're taking advantage of some of the powerful features of Node.js and the native HTTPS for the communication. So there are 2 APIs that Tableau provides, the Tableau JavaScript API and the Tableau Extensions API. And the Tableau JavaScript API kind of works from the outside, and the Tableau Extensions API works from the inside. So what does that mean? What that means is the Tableau provides a JavaScript API for you to embed a visualization in your website. Just like you would embed a YouTube video, you could embed a visualization in your website, and different components in your website that's independent of the Tableau can interact with your visualization. So for instance, you can filter from outside of the Tableau. You can go ahead and have something dynamically change, or a timer that could keep changing graphs. And those can happen using Tableau JavaScript. Low barrier to entry. There is no authentication or token. All you're really doing is you're creating like some virtual agent that's clicking through and navigating on your visual in your website. So it doesn't really do any kind of heavy lifting. So that is the JavaScript API. The next one is a fairly complex, which is the Tableau Extensions API. Now this works from within Tableau, and it can take data, it can manipulate the data, it can communicate back and forth between the Tableau visualization and the JavaScript code, and it can also write back to the Salesforce. So you can go ahead and look at forecast data, and you can look at forecast data, and you can click it in the Tableau visualization and have a form pop up and update that data. So essentially, it provides you functionality of interacting from within the visualization. So you don't have to have a separate website, or you don't have to embed it outside. From within the Tableau dashboard, you can have a small section called Tableau Extensions, and you can create a form, you can create a visualization like we did last week, look at charts and graphs and word clouds, and you can interact with that. And that's the Tableau extensions. In our framework for Tableau extensions, we have created 3 layers, which is Authenticate, Load, and Writeback. And today we're going to talk about those layers and show you the code, what's behind it, and show you a working application between Salesforce and Tableau. Okay, so briefly, we're going to look at the Tableau JavaScript API. It is, again, in the Tableau website. You can search for the Tableau JavaScript API. It's one file. And basically, the key points of the Tableau JavaScript API that display visualization from the Tableau server, Tableau public, and Tableau online, dynamically load and resize visualization, filter the data displayed in the visualization with HTML controls, select the marks in the visualization, like select specific areas, respond to events in the visualization. And this is interesting. If you were to click on one of the sections in your Tableau visualization, you can bring up an alert, or you can bring up like a contact us form, or maybe another form outside of Tableau, of course, that you can interact. And one of the new features they've added to this is export the visualization to PDF or to Excel. So you can just have a link on your websites with an Excel icon or a PDF icon, and the user can click on that icon and download the visualization. That's fairly, that's all you can really do with Tableau JavaScript API. And now the complexity comes in when we look at Tableau extensions. Again, the extensions is the internal version where you can actually have the JavaScript code embedded into your dashboard and interact with your dashboard. So the way the Extensions API works is it starts with the high level, which is the Tableau namespace. And then it goes into the extensions namespace, and then you can access the different content using the dashboard content object. So it kind of starts out with that high-level Tableau global class, and then goes into a derived class of extensions, and then it breaks down into dashboard content, and then goes into the different worksheets. And again, this follows a similar object-oriented programming kind of model view controller. Again, with JavaScript, the design patterns and the frameworks are different. And in this case, it doesn't seem to follow just one pattern. It kind of combines the best of different patterns. Fairly straightforward to use. And remember, with JavaScript, one of the fundamental strengths is what we call method chaining. So you can have methods from the base class chained to the subclasses, and you can have this something called dot operator chaining, and we will look at that, how that's done. So you can have extensions, dot dashboard contents, dot worksheet, dot, so you can keep adding those connectors, like you can see on the bottom here, where it says worksheet equals Tableau dot extensions dot dashboard content dot dashboard dot worksheets. So it goes through this inheritance with just a dot object, and that's what made JavaScript so famous, is that you can go into any namespace and you can do the dot, and you can essentially code from the middle. Okay, so that is JavaScript, and again, don't underestimate JavaScript. JavaScript can get really complicated, and it can also get really hard to debug. So there are some methods that we're going to show you on how to debug, and last week we showed you how to create a listener and run a Chromium engine to debug. So if you are having trouble with your extensions, the best way to start debugging is using the Chromium extension and running Tableau desktop on something called a debug mode, where it automatically sends broadcasts all the interactions to a particular port. And then you can use the Chromium browser with going directly to that port. You can see what's happening in the background. What are the components that is firing when you click on different parts of the dashboard. So that's how kind of debugging is done. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at the product. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at the product. On the left side is a Tableau sheet, a Tableau report. And the right side, right top is also a Tableau report. It's just a bar graph showing you that in the accounts object, there are 73 records with no phone numbers and 49 records with phone numbers. So let's say you're going through an audit and you want to go ahead and clean up all this. So what is an easy way to go ahead and start looking at and manipulating data than just clicking and interacting with your dashboard, with your report, and having a form that just shows up on the right side that you can edit? So that's what Tableau Extension really does. And that's what we have used Tableau Extension for, is to use that as an input form and as an update form. It can also be used to add a new record. But in our case, we're just trying to clean up the reporting and management of the account object in Salesforce. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to go ahead and take a look at, first we're going to look at Salesforce, and then we're going to look at Tableau for that specific account. And we're going to click that account, and then we're going to go ahead and add a phone number to that account. And then we're going to see the log of how it's going through to Salesforce. And then we're going to go back into Salesforce and refresh that account object and see that the information has been updated. And we'll refresh the Tableau dashboard to see that it's also updated on the Tableau dashboard. So that's kind of the workflow we want to look at. And while we're doing that, we're also going to look at the architecture. We're going to look at the 3 stages, what we have used in Tableau Extension, the connecting to Salesforce, loading the data, and then finally going and updating and coming back, so closure. So we're going to look at that life cycle and look at the code. And after that, we'll end the webinar and we'll open for Q&A. And then after that, we will go into just talking briefly about Einstein Analytics and Tableau CRM, what's going on in their space. Go ahead and, as you can see, there's no phone number. The phone number is empty. Let's go into Tableau, please. Now in Tableau, this is the Tableau dashboard. The list of accounts is a sheet, and then you have a graph for accounts with no phone number. And this, what you're looking at, is a dashboard that brings those sheets together. Okay, let's go ahead and click on that company, please. As you clicked on the company, you can see on the right side, it automatically says it has no phone number. And there's an X that we have created an alert just to filter out the accounts that don't have the phone number. Okay, go ahead and put a phone number in, please. And we can do phone number validation and all kinds of JavaScript components in this section. And at this time, we just left it open. Go ahead and click Submit, please. Now, can we see the log? What's happening in the background? The Node.js terminal window. So as you can see, we're running a Node.js component that goes in, authenticates with Salesforce, and once it's authenticated, and once you clicked on that data that particular account, it goes in, fetches that data, and then as you make changes and click the Submit button, it goes out and updates Salesforce. Let's go back into Salesforce and take a look at the update, please. Okay, do you see where it says phone and the number we just punched in just showed up there? So now we can do this mapping not only for the phone number, we can also do it for other fields. Let's go into Salesforce, Tableau, please. And can you show the mapping real quick? So we have built this mapping component where you can actually go in and map the Tableau field to the Salesforce account object field or any of the objects that you're connecting to. And we're using the Salesforce built-in Salesforce extension. So you can see here on the left side, what you're looking at is the is the Tableau fields. On the right side, you're looking at the fields that's in Salesforce, the mapping of the fields. Now, we can also do a like and automatically do the mapping. You don't have to do this. By default, it can try to match the closest match, and we can do the mapping. So this is, again, kind of an easy way for you to have a general purpose Writeback extension that you can use and connect to any number of objects in Salesforce and have a report in Tableau and then kind of connect the both. Okay, let's go ahead and cancel out of that. Thank you. And these are all the different objects as you've seen. So this, what we have done is we've written a general purpose Writeback form that you can use to interact between Tableau and Salesforce and create a dynamic, very easy form that only interacts based on the reports you have generated. And I think that's a really powerful feature and a very simple implementation. So it's very easy for your users to start embedding forms into your dashboards. Great, thank you, Satish. Now, could you go through the framework and kind of show us under the hood what's going on? Very briefly, not too technical, just kind of get us started. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, all. There are 3 steps to connect Tableau extensions to Salesforce. Step 1 is the authentication, where we receive the Salesforce access token. Here is the code to authenticate with Salesforce. So next step is the load action, where the selected field in Tableau Dashboard is queried in Salesforce, then loaded into Tableau extension. Here is the code to load data into Tableau extension. And the final step is Writeback process. Here is the code to upload data into Salesforce. Now, hope you got some idea on how Tableau extensions work. Thank you. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Satish. And again, that was a high-level overview of how Tableau extension works, how we're using authentication, loading the extensions, and writing back to Salesforce. So saying that, I think that concludes our presentation for today. Since this is part 2, we already covered a lot of the fundamentals of Tableau extensions on part 1.